Hey there! Welcome to Product Marketing Maestros, Tales from the Front Lines. I'm your host, Nitin Karthik. As Director of Product Marketing and a top product marketing voice, I've always found that real world case studies are the true litmus test for the effectiveness of any product marketing strategy. And that is why in this show, we dive into the minds of industry titans as well as rising stars, unpacking their expertise in action packed episodes that showcase the power of product marketing through real world case studies. And today, my friends, we are joined by product marketing maestro Talya Heller, who is a fractional product marketer and go to market strategy consultant at Down to a T. Through her illustrious career, Talya has led numerous multidisciplinary programs, earned the trust of her technical team and the overall organization, and learned how to say no or not now to balance risk versus customer requirements. Talya has also delivered critical business insights that drove her product roadmap. As a two-time founding PMM and director, Talya has improved the average contract value (ACV) by 60% and successfully translated customer and partner pain points into product features. Talya has a reputation for cracking the toughest nuts, with stakeholders saying things like, "I've never seen him smile before working with you, and you're the only person who can get him to do that." So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Talya Heller. Talya, it's an absolute honor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, and it's great to be here.
Excellent, excellent, wonderful. So, Talya, as promised, we will give our audience an experience from your background. We'll pick a situation, we'll use the ABC framework. So, we'll talk about the antecedents, the prior challenges, the behaviors, the actions that you took, and the conclusion, how things played out. So, with that, Talya, pick a situation from your experience and tell us what were the antecedents, what were the prior challenges?
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to talk about a situation not too long ago. A client reached out to me wanting to do a competitive research project. And they really had two main concerns that they wanted to tackle with it. So first of all, they didn't have a formalized competitive program at all. They didn't have any very thorough research in place. So basically what that meant is that their sales rep were kind of going, off the cuff. It was up to them to figure it out in competitive situations, which is, understandably not something that you want to happen. As PMMs, our job is to help sales and to make sure that they have all the tools and the knowledge that they need to sell easily. But also they had another, interesting need out of that. They also were operating in a very kind of big and fuzzy category. They were competing with a lot of different companies, or at least they thought they were, different categories, different types of buyers, and they kind of needed, some more information to figure out which one is their actual competitors and who can actually be maybe partners or in what rooms they can be in basically and come up when the conversation is happening about their category. So they wanted to get some more clarity around that as well. So we started with a list of about 8 competitors that they came up with. Some were huge incumbents, some were kind of newer companies, and that was the starting point.
Excellent. I think a lot of us can relate to that. We've all been in situations where the sales teams are kind of winging it. And I love how you mentioned, Talya, that sometimes you don't know, is this a competitor, a partner? Excellent. So thank you for setting the stage with the antecedents. Now let's talk about the behavior. So tell us, Talya, with this, what were some of the actions that you took?
Yeah, so I kind of followed my own, with the years, I kind of developed my own competitive research framework. I tend to go, I found it to be helpful for me to go beyond just features and messaging and things like that, and to really try to hone in on what's the actual go-to-market strategy of each of these companies. Who are they really targeting? What are they trying to build? Not necessarily now, but maybe a year or 5 years from now, where they're going, things like that. So I basically followed, that approach. And it just revealed some really interesting things, especially around, again, and for each of these companies, around who their ICP is like actually is, who they're saying their ICP is, which is not necessarily the same thing. And what's their content and acquisition strategies like.
Yeah, this is so timely. I think now that the market is becoming more crowded, everyone is trying to eat each other's lunch, the competition is coming out of the woodwork. And so to have this formal, who is the ICP, who are our competitors, and how we're going to market, I think this is going to be really great for all the audience to learn from. So wonderful. So you have those behaviors. Now bring it home, Talya. Tell us about the conclusion. How did the situation play out?
Yeah, so we saw some really interesting things there. So first of all, we saw that out of that list of like 8 companies, which is not a short list, they're really not competing directly with that many of them. And it was, I think, surprising to them to see with which companies they're really competing against and which they're really not. So which can be potential partners, or which they might be able to actually develop some relationships in some places and really focus their competitive efforts in others. And then and I think we were also able to do that because they had a fairly good understanding of their ICP. They were selling to very specific types of companies. So it was fairly, once we knew that, it was fairly easy to see who is really selling to the same types of businesses and why it's compelling to them. And then the other thing was, what not to say. So when you're doing that analysis and you're seeing everyone's messaging, right next to each other, and again, you have that clarity of who you're really competing with and who you're not, it was really kind of clear to see how the entire market was kind of saying one of two things. Half of them were saying, A, and some were saying B. So again, if you want to stand out, you have to know how your competitors are talking about themselves, so you can make sure not to say the same things. Basically, this is the easiest way to stand out. Just don't say the same thing everyone else is saying. So that was one. And then because of these two things, that project became really interesting because it kind of shifted from let's just do this competitive research that can produce later whatever, competitive landing pages and value cards and sales assets and all these things. It became more of a competitive positioning exercise. So and this was really the most interesting part, because again, that clarity of really focusing on the actual direct competitors allowed us, through facilitation, write down their really their core capabilities, what they're solving really well and what they're very good at. Compare it to the status quo, because that's also a competitor. You don't want to, you don't want to miss that. But also the rest of the direct competitors, and for each of them say whether it's possible or impossible to reach those capabilities. So very simple table, basically, that kind of gave them a map of, where are they really standing out? Where do they need to work a little harder? Focus their efforts on, again, either on actual competitive campaigns versus just sales enablement, talk tracks, competitive landing pages, and things like that. Just kind of an overarching map of here's how we can actually win the market. This is what we should be talking about for each of these competitors when we're up against them.
Fabulous, fabulous. I want to just reiterate a couple of things that you mentioned, Talya, that I think our audience will really benefit from. You talked about how we need to identify who is our competitor, right? Don't assume everybody is a competitor. Some of them may be partners. So that is very important. You also talked about how we should not just focus on what to say. We should focus also on what not to say, right? Don't say the same thing your competitors are saying, then you get lost in the crowd. So what not to say is just as important as what to say. And the third thing I love about what you said is, don't just focus on where they are now, look at where they are going, right? I think there's a famous saying by the hockey player Wayne Gretzky that I skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is, right? So that is what makes him great. And he's called the great one, for that and many other reasons. So fantastic. So thank you, Talya. I think that was great. I think our audience learned a lot. So tell us, Talya, if people wanted to get in touch with you, where can they find you? Where can they learn more about you?
Yeah, awesome. So LinkedIn is kind of, the most obvious channel. I post about these things: go-to-market strategy, competitive positioning, ICP. These are the type of things that I'm the most passionate about. This is a good place, to see content, to DM me. I also have a website. I'm actually working on getting some of my LinkedIn content onto my website and just kind of having like a resource library there. So now that I said it out loud, it means that it has to happen. I'm committed. And I'm happy to share the framework that I use to the comment, once this episode is live. So everyone can benefit, all the visual learners can see that as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, excellent. So there you have it, folks. Definitely reach out to Talya on LinkedIn. And my friends, armed with that knowledge, stay awesome out there.